Deep beneath the ground, locked away inside a high-security vault, lay a necklace worth an unimaginable 1,700 crores, a jewel so priceless that most people could only dream of laying eyes on it. But dreams can turn into obsessions, and obsessions can fuel impossible plans. One day, 8 extraordinary women came together. Each of them had a unique skill, and together, they formed an unstoppable team. Their mission? To pull off the greatest heist of all time. But here's the real question. Could they really outsmart layers of cutting-edge security? Or would their daring plan collapse into chaos and danger? Our story begins not inside the vault, but behind the cold walls of a prison cell. Meet Davison, better known as Davy. For 5 long years, he had rotted behind bars, paying the price for a robbery gone wrong. Today, those gates finally open. Today, he is free. But freedom is a tricky thing. The police releasing him on bail were far from confident. After all, Davy wasn't just anyone, he was the brother of Daniel, a thief whose name was once feared in the underworld. And, as the saying goes, blood runs thicker than water. Davy promised them he'd change. He swore he'd leave the darkness behind, get a decent job, live an honest life, make honest friends. For a moment, even the police wanted to believe him. But here's the truth. Once a thief, always a thief. And Davy, he wasn't about to walk away from the life he knew best. The moment he left prison, he headed straight to a high-end brand showroom. There, he picked up several expensive items and tore off their price tags. Then he carried them to the counter and told the clerk that he had purchased these items last week, but now wanted to return them. The girl at the counter asked for a receipt, but Davy didn't have one. She then asked him to show a card bill, but he didn't have that either. In the end, Davy walked out without returning the products, and on his way, he even grabbed a fancy branded bag. That's the cleverness of thieves. You can see how sharp they are. In this way, he collected several valuable items from different stores. Later, he went to a 5-star hotel, but he had no money to pay for a room. That's when he noticed a couple at the reception who were checking out early because they had to catch an emergency flight. An idea sparked in Davy's mind. A little while after the couple left, he called the reception desk and claimed that their flight had been canceled and that they wanted their room back since not much time had passed. The receptionist agreed and reactivated the room. Davy happily hung up the phone and walked straight into that room since the couple had already paid the bill. Just like that, Davy managed to spend the night at a 5-star hotel for free. You can imagine what kind of things are about to unfold further in the film. The scene shifts, and now we see Lou. Once, he had been Davy's partner, but after Davy went to jail, Lou chose his own path. One day, Lou receives a message from Davy, asking to meet. Meanwhile, Davy visits the grave of his brother Daniel. He had loved Daniel deeply. Apart from his brother, he had no one in this world. Accepting Daniel's death wasn't easy for Davy. While he sat there, an elderly man approached him. This man was actually Daniel's old partner. While they were talking, Lou arrived. Davy then left with Lou. As they walked, Davy told Lou that he was about to carry out a grand plan. If this plan succeeded, he would retire from crime forever. Lou, curious, asked Davy what the plan was. Davy then showed him a picture of a special diamond necklace from Cartier called the 2-cent necklace, valued at 50 million, about 1,900 crores. Davy intended to steal that very necklace. Lou was shocked to hear this, because the necklace was secured inside an underground vault 50 feet below the surface. Stealing it from there was impossible, but Davy said they wouldn't need to go after the necklace. It would come to them on its own. Lou couldn't quite understand his words, but he trusted Davy's plans completely, so he agreed to help. The next day, Davy went to the art gallery owned by his ex-boyfriend Claude. Seeing him, Claude got a little nervous. Davy pulled out a plastic knife to scare him, then left. Don't be surprised at this odd move. There's a hidden reason behind it, which we'll discover later. Then Davy took Lou to the very museum from which they intended to steal the necklace. Seeing the place, Lou grew anxious because the security was extremely tight. Pulling off a heist under such security would require a lot of people and a lot of money. But Davy had already worked out a master plan that would require very few people and little expense. When Lou asked to know the plan, Davy took him to a press conference. There, as a guest, was the famous actress Daphne. A reporter asked her which designer's outfit she would be wearing to this year's Met Gala. Daphne replied that she hadn't chosen a designer yet. Hearing this, Lou realized that Davy was planning to target some designer, but the real plan was still unclear to him. Before moving forward, let's explain. Met Gala is very familiar to those who love films and award shows. It is one of the world's most famous celebrity events, where renowned stars from across the globe gather. Every year, the Met Gala has a special theme, and celebrities attend dressed accordingly. This year's theme was European royalty, and it was around this theme that Davy crafted his plan. Since Daphne hadn't yet chosen a designer, Davy and Lou began searching for one. After some time, they came across a designer named Rose. Once upon a time, Rose had been very famous, but her popularity had declined because her designs had become a bit outdated. Still, in an effort to make her work relevant again, again. She spent huge amounts of money. This landed her in heavy debt, and the bank even confiscated her passport so she couldn't flee abroad. Rose was always troubled by this. She worked hard to organize fashion shows to showcase her designs, but they failed miserably. Disheartened, Rose would often sit in the corner of the green room, drinking. It was during one such moment that Davy and Lou approached her. In conversation, they befriended her. Rose opened up to her new friends about her struggles. At that moment, Lou told her that they could solve her problems, but in return, she would have to do something for them. Curious, Rose asked what she had to do. Davy and his team then showed her a picture of Daphne and told her she would have to design Daphne's outfit for the Met Gala. Rose was shocked to hear this. For a failed designer like her, Rose was shocked. Why would a famous actress like Daphne wear a dress designed by her? That's when Davy explained the entire plan. The expensive necklace was called 2 Cent, which had once been the most beloved necklace of the Queen of Europe. It was crafted by Cartier. After the Queen's death, Cartier reclaimed the necklace and locked it away in their underground secret vault. It had never been brought out for the public to see. But this time, since the theme of the Met Gala was European royalty, Davy planned to bring the necklace out through Daphne. His idea was that Rose would convince Daphne to wear the necklace at the event. And once Daphne stepped onto the red carpet wearing it, the team would quietly steal it. Rose found the plan clever. Still, she was nervous. Could she really pull it off? But Davy's words made sense, and this was her only chance to pay off her debts, so she agreed. However, the three of them alone couldn't handle such a massive operation. They needed more people. Most importantly, an expert hacker. Davy gave Lou the responsibility of finding one. Meanwhile, Davy himself went to meet Anita, who had once been Daniel's partner and was now working at a jewelry store. He told her about the plan and asked how long would it take to break down a necklace into smaller pieces of jewelry. Anita said it could take many hours, maybe even a full day. But when Davy offered her 200 crores, Anita quickly changed her tune and promised she could do the job in much less time. When Davy returned home, Lou had already found a hacker named Nineball. Hearing the name shocked everyone. Of course, it wasn't her real name. Hackers usually kept their identities hidden, using only code names. Hers was Nineball. The next day, following Davy's instructions, Rose went to meet a famous actress. Davy had already arranged the appointment and taught Rose what to do. Rose was supposed to hold the actress's hand. She did exactly that, and at that very moment, Davy secretly snapped a photo. Looking at the picture, it seemed as though the actress was holding Rose's hand and admiring her work. Davy then published that photo in a newspaper, along with an article. When Daphne saw it, she thought that top actresses in the industry were lining up to wear Rose's designs. Impressed, she herself approached Rose and offered her the chance to design her Met Gala dress. That meant the first step of Davy's plan had succeeded. But the road ahead was still long. The team now needed an expert thief. Of course, they were all thieves in their own way, but this job required someone who could make objects vanish right before people's eyes, without anyone noticing. Luckily, they found exactly that kind of girl on the streets. Her name was Constance. She performed magic tricks, making people's belongings disappear, yet had never been caught. Davy recruited her immediately. The girl agreed without hesitation. Next, Davy went to meet his old partner, Tammy. Although she had officially retired from crime, when Davy visited her garage, he found it filled with stolen goods. At first, Tammy refused to help, but once Davy explained the whole plan, she agreed right away. With that, Davy brought everyone together and explained each person's role. According to the title of the film, Davy's team was supposed to have 8 members, but for now, they only had 7. Who would be the 8th member? A man or a woman? That was to remain a surprise. The plan was set. At the Met Gala, Daphne would wear the 2 Cent necklace, persuaded by Rose. Nineball would hack the CCTV cameras and keep an eye on everything. Constance's job was to make the necklace vanish from Daphne's neck without anyone noticing. Tammy would manage the entire mission. Lou's main role was to handle the arrangements for selling the necklace. Since Davy was out on bail, he couldn't directly take part in the robbery. His job was to guide and support the team. According to the plan, their first task was to convince Daphne to wear the necklace. Rose approached her, explained things carefully, and although Daphne was hesitant at first, Rose managed to persuade her. Despite a little overacting, Daphne didn't suspect anything. Next, following Davy's instructions, Rose went with Anita to Cartier's main showroom. Their goal was to create a duplicate copy of the 2 Cent necklace so that it could be swapped with the real one at the museum. For that, they needed a 3D image of the necklace. But since the necklace had been locked underground for so long, no photos of it existed online. So Anita and Rose had to go see it in person. At the showroom, Cartier's staff displayed their best designs. but Anita and Rose kept insisting to see the 2-cent necklace. Finally, the salesman took them to the manager. The manager was reluctant to take out a necklace worth $150 million because of the strict security measures, but Rose was persistent. She told him that Cartier's brand reputation was gradually fading, and if this continued, people would soon forget the name Cartier altogether. But if the 2-cent necklace were seen around the neck of a celebrity, it would give the brand enormous publicity. Hearing this, the manager was convinced and agreed to take them into the underground vault. Rose put on a special pair of glasses to examine the necklace, but these weren't ordinary glasses. They were a scanning device that could capture a 3D image of the necklace. Unfortunately, the vault was deep underground, and the device couldn't catch a proper signal. Rose grew worried. That's when Anita suggested that they needed to take the necklace outside, into the sunlight, for the device to work properly. And since the event was to take place in the afternoon, that's why it was necessary to see how the necklace looked in daylight. The manager then took the necklace outside and placed it under the sun, and at that very moment, Rose's special glasses caught the signal. She leaned in very close to the necklace, examining it from every possible angle. The manager grew a little suspicious at her strange behavior, not knowing she was secretly scanning it. Meanwhile, Nineball sat in the office, preparing the 3D model. Within minutes, the scanning was complete, and the digital model of the necklace was ready. Rose and Anita then left the place. The next day, Constance went to the museum and quietly stole a cleaner's ID card, which she handed over to Nineball. Using this ID, Nineball disguised himself as a janitor and slipped into the conference room. At that time, a meeting about the security system was in progress. Pretending to empty the trash, Nineball discreetly planted a small speaker there. Through this device, they learned that the museum's security system was being upgraded for the Met Gala. Hearing this, Debbie grew excited, because during the upgrade, they would have a chance to manipulate the system. That night, Nineball searched the social media accounts of the security team and discovered one member's profile filled only with dog photos. Realizing his weakness, she created a fake website about dogs and sent him the link. The man clicked on it, and instantly his computer was hacked. A reminder, never click on unknown links. They can be dangerous. Through this hack, Nineball got access to the Met Gala's updated security system and also identified the positions of all the cameras inside the museum. They noticed cameras were installed in every corner, making it nearly impossible to steal anything without being seen. They hoped the bathrooms might be camera-free, but even there, cameras were installed. So Debbie asked Nineball if she could alter the angle of the bathroom camera to create a blind spot of about 9 feet. Nineball replied that she could. Soon, they stumbled upon another golden opportunity. Vogue magazine's office was hiring, and those employees would be part of the Met Gala's management team. The next day, Tammy went for an interview and easily landed the job. While there, she noticed a seating chart for the gala's dining arrangement. She secretly scanned it with her glasses and sent it to Nineball. Debbie saw that the seat next to Daphne was empty, so he had Nineball enter Claude's name into that spot. Tammy convinced her senior to let her handle the food arrangements, and she managed to get Lou hired as a chef and Anita as part of the kitchen staff. Everything was falling into place. And finally, the day of the event arrived. That morning, Cartier delivered the Toussaint necklace to Daphne. Seeing it made her emotional, and her eyes filled with tears. Rose was beside her and suggested she try it on. Daphne wore the necklace, but when Rose tried to unclasp it, a problem arose. The necklace wouldn't open. Despite repeated attempts, Rose failed. A Cartier employee then explained that a special magnet was required to open it, and only Cartier had it. Without it, the necklace could not be removed. Rose panicked, but her quick thinking saved the moment. She asked the Cartier agent to demonstrate opening it in front of her, and secretly recorded the process on video, which she then sent to Debbie. Debbie grew tense watching the video. If, after coming this far, they failed to steal the necklace, the whole plan would collapse. That's when Nineball had an idea. She sent the video to her sister, who was an expert with such devices. After studying it, her sister built an identical magnet and handed it over to Nineball. By evening, as the event began, Daphne proudly wore the Toussaint necklace. Rose and the Cartier agent stayed by her side, while the rest of the crew moved into their designated positions. Nineball sat outside in a van, monitoring everything through the hacked feeds. As planned, Daphne strolled through the jewelry section of the museum, where the most precious European pieces were displayed, before returning to her assigned seat. During dinner service, Lou, disguised as a waiter, slipped a chemical into Daphne's food right under her nose. Exhausted and hungry from the day's preparations, she ate quickly, but halfway through her meal, she began to feel unwell and rushed to the restroom. At that moment, Constance discreetly locked all restroom doors except the target one. Debbie stood guard outside. Daphne, too sick to care about appearances, ran inside and vomited into the toilet. The Cartier agent tried to follow, but Debbie stopped him, saying it was the ladies' restroom. People waited outside as Constance, dressed as museum staff, entered to help Daphne. In reality, she unclasped the necklace from Daphne's neck so smoothly that Daphne never noticed. At that very moment, a waiter carrying a tray walked past the blind spot. Debbie shoved him gently into it, and Constance quickly placed the necklace on the tray. The waiter, distracted, didn't notice. With the agents busy elsewhere, no one saw what happened. The waiter then carried the tray into the kitchen, where Anita retrieved the necklace and slipped into a restroom to begin dismantling it. Meanwhile, Daphne emerged from the bathroom looking pale. The agents were shocked to see her neck bare. They searched the restroom but found nothing. They questioned Daphne, but she was clueless. When they asked if she'd interacted with anyone at the party, she reminded them the conversation at such events was normal. Claude then stepped forward and told the agents he had been with Daphne the whole time and noticed nothing suspicious. The agents tightened security, gathering all the guests in the hall to investigate, but no sign of the necklace appeared. Nineball noticed through the cameras that a guard was heading toward the kitchen, where Anita was still working. She immediately warned Debbie. To buy time, Debbie told Tammy to present the fake necklace in public. Tammy had it strapped to her leg, so she quickly slipped it into a nearby fountain and made it look like Daphne had dropped it while rushing to the restroom. The agents felt relieved seeing it. Word spread quickly, and all the guards, including the one in the kitchen, were called back. In that gap, Anita successfully dismantled the Toussaint into smaller jewelry pieces. Constance carried them to Debbie, who distributed them among the team members. At that moment, Debbie ran into Claude. Claude was stunned to see him, but before he could react, Debbie slipped away without acknowledging him. After the security checks were over and the guests began leaving the event, it was revealed that each member of Debbie's crew had a different piece of jewelry with them. Someone carried a bracelet, another had earrings, someone else had a ring. This was how they managed to smuggle out the necklace safely, without anyone realizing what had happened. Later, Cartier's agents collected the necklace from Daphne and took it back to the showroom. But when the manager examined it, he was shocked to discover that the necklace was actually a fake. Luckily, the necklace had been insured. The insurance company was informed, and they assigned an investigator named John to track down the real necklace. John began his probe by questioning the Cartier agents. From them, he learned that the necklace had disappeared while Daphne was in the restroom. John even suspected that it might have fallen into the toilet by accident, so he checked the museum's drainage pipes, but found no clue. He went on to interrogate Daphne and everyone who had been near her. When Daphne herself learned that the necklace she returned was fake, she was stunned, because she hadn't known about it either. John also questioned Claude, but again, no lead turned up. Finally, John reviewed the CCTV footage from the event. His eyes landed on Debbie. He already recognized her from before, which instantly raised his suspicions. That same day, he met Debbie and confronted her, convinced that she had stolen the necklace. But Debbie denied it flatly and instead cast suspicion on Claude, saying that since Claude was with Daphne the entire time, he had the strongest opportunity to pull off the theft. John wasn't entirely convinced though, because he had no solid evidence against Claude. Debbie then assured him that he would provide proof, so John let him go. That evening, Debbie gathered her crew to discuss how they would sell the necklace. But then, unexpectedly, Daphne herself walked in. And here came the real twist. Up until this point, everyone, including us, was waiting to know who the mysterious 8th member of Ocean's team was, and it turned out to be none other than Daphne herself. What's more surprising is that even the other 7 members had no idea about this. Daphne had long ago figured out Debbie's plan. Back when Rose kept insisting that she wear the Toussaint necklace, Daphne noticed Rose's overacting and grew suspicious. Later, when Rose secretly filmed her while removing the necklace, Daphne caught that too, and became certain that Rose and her friends were planning something big. The sudden upset stomach incident wasn't part of her expectations, but when Constance actually unclasped the necklace from her neck, Daphne noticed that as well. Yet she deliberately chose not to expose anyone. Instead, she quietly decided to help make Debbie's plan succeed so she could earn her place in the team. Debbie welcomed her into the group because if Daphne didn't cooperate, she could easily report everything to the police, and none of them would get away with anything. Sharing the loot with 8 members was far better than all 7 ending up in jail. Still, there was one major problem. Until the necklace case was officially closed, they couldn't sell the diamonds. And without selling, there would be no money, so they needed a scapegoat, someone to pin the theft on. Debbie revealed that he already had a scapegoat prepared, Claude. That very night, Daphne, following Debbie's instructions, met with Claude. They spent the night together. The next morning, before Claude woke up, Daphne pulled out the same suit he had worn at the event. Back during the gala, Debbie had deliberately stumbled in front of Claude and secretly slipped a piece of the necklace into his suit pocket, so it could later be used as evidence against him. Now, Daphne took a photo of that necklace fragment and sent it to Debbie. Debbie forwarded it straight to John. With this photographic proof, John finally had solid evidence against Claude. He immediately alerted the police, who arrested Claude. Claude, completely bewildered, couldn't understand what was happening to him. He had no way to prove his innocence, so he decided to contact his lawyer. But why did Debbie want to frame Claude? The truth lay in their past. Years earlier, Debbie and Claude had been in a relationship. Together, they used to steal expensive paintings from prestigious art galleries and sell them for a fortune. But one day, they got caught by the police. To save himself, Claude shifted all the blame onto Debbie, claiming that Debbie had blackmailed him. As a result, Debbie was sentenced to 5 years in prison, while Claude walked free. After being released, Debbie crafted 2 master plans. First, to steal the Tucson necklace, and second, to take revenge by framing Claude. Once Claude was caught, the authorities closed the case. Now, it was finally time to sell the necklace. However, after deducting the expenses of the mission, there wasn't much money left to share, which left the team slightly dissatisfied. That's when Debbie revealed another shocking truth. They hadn't only stolen the Tucson, but had also swapped out and stolen the entire collection of jewelry from the museum. Debbie had pulled this off with the help of an old partner. The two had entered the museum earlier, taken all the real jewels, and replaced them with fakes. Since the museum's security system was under maintenance at the time, nobody noticed. The combined market value of all the jewelry was around $350 million, roughly 4.2 billion rupees. On hearing this, the team erupted with joy. Months later, we see where life took them. Anita was now in a relationship. Constance had started her own blogging channel. Daphne left acting behind and became a director. Rose had paid off all her debts. Lou was preparing for her world tour. And Debbie, sitting quietly by her brother Daniel's grave, finally felt at peace, because Daniel's dream had always been to pull off a grand heist and settle down for good. And just like that, everyone's dreams came true, and this thrilling story came to an end. Some journeys close with loss, others with victory, but theirs ended with both. What began as a dangerous heist turned into a story of friendship, redemption, and fulfilled dreams. And though Daniel was gone, his legacy lived on through Debbie and the team who carried out his vision. In the end, it wasn't just a heist, it was a second chance at life. And that is what made their story unforgettable.